Now that we have the level 1 floor plan sheet created, it's time to create a new sheet to cover a couple of other views that we want to show in this training documentation exercise. So let's go to the Sheets category in the project browser and then select it, right-click, and then select the option New Sheet. Now what we have up here is a title block arrangement already set up for you. It is the D24 by 36 Highline 2022 Draft 225. You can also select none if you wanted no title block, but that's the one in here by default, so simply click OK. Now notice what's happened here. The sheet number has automatically been updated with G005 because the latest version had this G001 in here, and it kind of follows a logic that it's going to add a new sequential number somewhere after that. We're going to change the sheet number right now. In this case, what we're going to do is call this an elevation view. So in this case, let's use A201. Double click here to change the sheet number. Capital A201, and then just simply click out. Now we have a new sheet number, and if we added another sheet after this, this sequence will now be followed. So let's go back to the sheet, right click, new sheet, and click OK. A202 has now been created, and notice the name says unnamed. Let's go back to sheet A201 by double clicking on it. And now let's zoom in on the title block a little bit and make a few little changes in here. Now you've done this before when you customized the starter file, but let's do this again now. In Drawn By, add your name into this field. I'll just add my first name this time. Now in the project description, what we're going to do is call this documentation training. After that, we're going to change the date to today. Now, right now, I'm not going to change this date right now, just so that we have the video preserved for multiple quarters. But when you're doing this change it to today's date, whatever date this is that you're watching this video and you're performing these actions. Now, in the unnamed, what we're going to do is also call this documentation. But this time, instead of just documentation, we're also going to give it a name that's specific to the views that will be applied. So in this case, let's call this documentation. Click Enter. Let's edit that name and give it one additional element. We're going to call this exterior elevations. And then click out. Now, documentation exterior elevation indicates that on this sheet you will apply a couple of exterior elevations to the sheet, but especially this documentation term, because this is just a training exercise. If this was a project, the word documentation would not be part of it. It would simply be called exterior elevations. The rest of this we're going to leave alone. Notice that the student name has been automatically updated because the other title block field got updated down here. Now that the title block has been updated, let's apply a couple of our exterior elevation views to this sheet. Up in your project browser, expand the building elevation category, and let's drop the east and north views onto the sheet. They come first and second, so that's no big deal. We'll just drop them on here. Click and hold your left mouse button down, drag the view onto the sheet, release the mouse button, and now let's take this entire view and paste it, kind of just click one more time to drop it onto the sheet. Let's do the same with the north. Click and hold, drag the view onto the sheet, release, and click to place it in our view. Now notice what happened. The bounding box or the crop region is visible here, but that's not actually going to show up when we go to print. It's an invisible element in Revit. At this point, the two views are applied to the sheet, but we still need to make some other updates to align the two views and clean up the appearance of those datum level lines. Let's start here at the top. Let's select and move this one up just slightly to give it a little bit more room at the top. That's pretty good. Now what we're going to do next is zoom in with our scroll wheel, double click to activate the view, and now we'll select this top roof line. We'll uncheck the box on this side, pan over, and check the box on this side. But notice what's happening. The datum level lines and level heads are interfering with project geometry and making things difficult to read. They automatically align together, so choose any one that's accessible. Zoom in a little bit until you see this magenta circle right next to the level head. Click on that circle and drag the level head outside of project geometry enough so that all of that information is now clear and easy to read. Now in this case, even though it's a three-dimensional datum level, it didn't snap to the others. So now we need to go back and find another one, click that same circle, and let's see the rest aligning. Yes, it looks like they are going to align and follow along. Once you get this blue dashed line that they all snap to, release your mouse button, and then click out to set them in place. That's much better. Now we can read the datum level lines without anything interfering with project geometry. That's one of our cleanup steps. The next cleanup step is going to be the view title line itself. Let's zoom out a little bit, click outside the project by double-clicking, and then let's select the view title line for this view. Click it, and then click and hold your mouse button down and move the view title line over to the right just a little bit. We now need to shorten it. So let's go ahead and select the viewport one more time, click and hold the circular grip, and then shorten it up so that it aligns with those datum level heads. And there you go. That is a fully cleaned up view. Let's do the same with this other elevation right here. Click. Let's kind of reposition things a little bit. Now in this case, what I don't want to do is focus too much on trying to make everything entirely perfect. I think in this case, it's best just to try to get things close enough. We have plenty of room on our sheet to align the datum level heads together, and I think that's what I'm going to try to achieve here, just for consistency between the two views on this one sheet. So we can do this with the arrow keys on the keyboard. Let's kind of shift this view over to the left until the datum level lines are fairly close to lining up. That looks pretty good to me. And now from there, let's double click to activate the view and do the same edits. Uncheck and check. Now all of these are already aligned and look good to me. Now let's double click out, select the view title line. Now notice what happens if I bring the view title line into play. It detects the presence of the other view title line aligned above, and that's a good thing. We want to make sure that that information lines up pretty nicely between the two. Again, it makes for a nice consistent view on the sheet. Then select the viewport, move the grip in, and let's align to the other length of the view title line right there. Click out when we're done, and I think that looks pretty good. Maybe one more slight adjustment would be to select the entire view and bring it up just a little bit on the sheet. Okay, that's pretty good. At this point, this sheet is ready to go to printing. Not much more we can do here. I think it looks quite nice. Now we're going to go to A202 next. And using the same techniques that I've shown you here, on A202, drag in the other two exterior elevations, south and west. Drag them and drop them onto the sheet, align them, make all of the adjustments I showed you on A201, and then from there, make sure to save your file.